Could the Illini be ready to produce their first ever one-and-done player? I think so. Let's talk about it. Locked On Illini.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another live episode of Locked On Illini. Hopefully we won't have any technical issues like we had the other day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, my name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast or do a search for Locked On Illini on any of your favorite social media platforms. Send me a message there. It's me responding. So if you have a question, if you have feedback, story you want me to talk about, that's the best place to reach me. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the new article released by ESPN.com, where they talk about Kasparas Jakucionis being the #1 international newcomer in this upcoming college basketball season. And there was an appearance by another Illini player. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Again, it's a Friday episode, so please hit up the chats. Hit up that comment section. I'm going to be addressing it in the third segment as usual. I'm not going to be talking as much in the first two segments just because I want to have a little community show. I've enjoyed those. I've been doing a little bit more of those in the past couple weeks. And it's fun to, kind of get to know you guys and see what you guys are talking about. For those of you on the audio side, hit that download button, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. You guys have been doing wonderful. The audio side of the show, I can't tell you enough how impressed the Locked On Network has been. So thank you all so much. But if you do like or you want to interact with me, definitely find me on YouTube, Locked On Illini. I like to go live, so hit that notification bell. I don't know where it is on the screen for you guys, but then you'll kind of have an idea of exactly when I go live, and you can all be a part of the show. All right, let's talk about it. Jonathan, I always say this name wrong, Jonathan Givony from ESPN.com just moments ago released their basically top X international newcomers for the college basketball season this year. They talked about how deep this international class is and how pivotal it can be and impactful moving forward. I think they said 3 of the top 15 in the ESPN top 100 are on this list. And depending on the performance of some of these guys, this could be one of those where it changes the future of recruiting in college basketball. If the translation from the international play to college basketball works out for some of these players, you can see other programs going a little bit more aggressive in terms of their international scouting. One thing we don't have to worry about, and one thing we can be kind of comfortable with, is that Brad Underwood and Orlando Antigua and Jeff Alexander, well, they've been on this train for a while now. And so, again, it's always about thinking 2 steps ahead. And I'm going to, kind of further my thoughts on this at the end of this segment. But anyways, let's talk about Kasparas. We've all heard the rumors. There was a big secret scrimmage against Butler over the past weekend. And while Kasparas wasn't the best player on the team, again, I've only received notes, very short notes, let's put it that way. But there's other media outlets out there who are kind of reporting what they've heard, and they kind of coincide with mine. So that's why I'm okay talking about it, but I'm not going to be too in depth because it's not mine, right? Like I've heard 2 or 3 different things, and because it could be right or it could be wrong, Illinois is being super secretive about this. Everyone is, for the most part. Even, one of my viewers, I appreciate you if you're watching, he's kind of an insider. He's very high up when it comes to the NIL stuff. So he gives me notes, bits and pieces. And even he, again, I'm grateful for this, only decided to drop a couple notes on this, maybe for fear, for whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. I'm appreciative of it. But anyways, ultimately, my point was going to be Kasparas Jakucionis wasn't the best player at this secret practice, but he was clearly an all-around player and living up to the hype that has basically been bestowed upon him. And I can't say this enough. Illinois might have its first superstar in a very long time. And Terrence Shannon Jr. was a superstar, right? But he was also much older. You're talking about a college basketball level superstar. Ayo Dosunmu, obviously his story, I credit him a great deal with the rejuvenation of this Illinois program. A superstar at the college basketball level, but wasn't really able to do much. Let me correct myself. Ayo's been a very solid role player in the NBA. I'm a big Bulls fan, so I do watch him all the time. I think he was drafted at 38th or 37th or something like that in 2021, and he's already earned a second contract. He's a very solid rotational player in the NBA. But I guess my point is he's not a star or a superstar. Kasparas Jakucionis could be. He was number 6 in Sam Vecini's mock draft last week that was released. All signs point towards KJ being a one and done this year. And I can't say this enough. I know Illini fans are obsessed, and I know you guys are very rabid, and that's what makes us so kind of proud to be in this, community, this brotherhood that we all seem to have. If you haven't watched Kasparas video tapes from YouTube already, please do. It's funny, just to circle back on this whole recruitment. Just 4 or 5 months ago, at the conclusion of this Elite Eight run, when we just continued to lose talent, Illinois fans were pretty low. At that point, we had lost out on AJ Storr, who just wanted way too much when it comes to promises and NIL funds. It looked like David Jones was going to the NBA, and then if he had decided to come back, he was going to go to Memphis. And those were kind of the 2 stars we were hoping to find if we weren't able to, to basically replace Terrence Shannon Jr. We struck out on both of them. And all of a sudden, you question, where is this bump from this Elite Eight run? Then you hear about this kid, Igor Danim, out in Spain. And Illinois and Jeff Alexander were making an aggressive run at him. Could he be the guy? He's projected top 5 NBA draft pick. Maybe he's it. And ultimately, we lose out on that recruitment. But in that recruitment comes this kid named Kasparas Jakucionis. And that's when I first started noticing, as embarrassing as it is. So you're talking about what? June? Maybe? A guy who we started recruiting in May or June. It could be the best player on this basketball team this upcoming year. But watch the games that he had against Denis. I'm telling you, in these one-on-one battles, Kasparas was the better player. He is not the most athletic guy by any stretch of the imagination. I would be shocked if he's one of the 5 most athletic guys on this basketball team this upcoming year. But there's just something about basketball IQ that this guy just gets. And you've been seeing it all over Twitter now. Everyone, now you're getting to the point where the scouts are at Illinois practices. I think Brad Underwood in a Derek Piper article said something along the lines of, I'll just quote, "We've usually had 20 of the 30 teams come through by the start of the season. This year we got that in the first week of practice." The NBA is noticing. And quite honestly, this is going to be one of the reasons that Illinois' ceiling is as high as it is. He's really that good. It's all around play. He can score at all 3 levels, but he's not looking to necessarily score. He's a guy who I think, even though Kylan Boswell is going to be our starting point guard, I think it's Kasparas that's going to be the guy who has the ball 70% of the time. He's going to be the ball handler, the guy bringing it up the court. I don't know if he's got the same skill set as Marcus Damask last year. So I don't think booty ball is necessarily his style of play. But when you talk about pick and rolls and just making the right decision, being able to spread the floor, when him and Will Riley are going to be on the court together, it's going to be rough off the start at the beginning of the season. But I just think ultimately when this Big Ten conference schedule rolls around, we'll have played in so many environments that Kasparas at that point is going to become a national brand name. We've talked about that game in Madison Square Garden against Duke, where Duke is going to have Cooper Flag and a host of other potential lottery picks in next year's draft. I genuinely think, and I'm saying this with a straight face, that at that point, that whole ESPN marketing machine or Fox machine, whoever's going to be broadcasting this game, is going to be hyping up the showdown between Kasparas Jakucionis and Cooper Flag. I think Kasparas is going to be that good. I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty times before, but he's the reason that I'm not worried that, okay, for example, a little insider for you guys. I reached out to my UConn contact this morning who, about this Jacob Furphy recruitment. And it looks like Jacob Furphy's not going to be coming to the Illini. He's going to be committing to UConn. And the only reason they're waiting on it, I know Furphy said that he wanted to commit within 48 or 72 hours of his visit to Champaign. Well, UConn wants to lock it down with Braylon Mullins first, and because they fear that if a Jacob Furphy commitment might make Mullins second guess at that point. So it looks like we're going to lose Furphy, who again looks like a star in his own stretch. And when you look at our class next year, you kind of get worried, like, hey, where's that superstar? We've got some good guys, developmental guys, maybe guys who will develop into role players, but who is going to be that next Kasparas? I repeat myself. Brad Underwood found Kasparas in June. It might have been May. It was very late in the recruiting cycle. Don't get me wrong. Jeff Alexander had seen Kasparas in the FIBA under 16 when he was scouting Nogus. I'm not going to try pronouncing the last name. I don't want to be disrespectful and botch it. The kid who ultimately committed to Iowa State. So Kasparas was on the radar, but I don't think they decided to go super aggressive on him until they started watching him battle Deneem, and Deneem decided to go in a different direction. All in all, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's Friday. I want to hear in the chat what you guys think of Kasparas. Have you guys watched this tape? If you haven't, let me know. Maybe I can try to put some on my Twitter account or in this in the chats moving forward. Have you bought into the hype? I think he can clearly be an all Big Ten player. He's got potential to be Big Ten Conference Player of the Year. Are those high expectations? Sure. I think the key to the season, at least with the Illini fan base, is we need to keep our expectations somewhat humbled at the beginning of the year, because as I'm going to talk about in the next segment, where we saw the documentary Every Day Starts Here with Brad Underwood. Actually, let's just go to that first. I'll just combine the two over there. Let's do it this way. 1 sec. I'll see you on the other side of this break. Hey, NFL fans. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, so Illinois on Wednesdays from the next couple of weeks, it started last week, is releasing a new docuseries called Every Day Starts Here. And I think it's just kind of give a background, behind the stage view of how this Illini season is going. This particular one started on day one of practice. And you kind of got to see Brad give a speech where you can understand why he is as successful as he is. he had a room full of 10 new players on that team. And, he talked about, it's funny, you don't really think of your first day of practice having what seemed to be like an introductory meeting, because usually a lot of these players know each other. But in this case, it seemed to be an introduction, because he's like looking around and he's kind of telling these new players like, hey, this is what I've done. This is who I am. Normally you have a room full of 7, 8 guys who already know, who were there last season. This year it's a little bit different. But one thing I loved was just how confident he was. And he said it himself, hey, we made the Elite 8 last year, 8 out of 365 teams, but it wasn't good enough. And he talked about how his ultimate goal has never changed, and that's to win a national championship, and that he's going to bet on himself, and that he's never going to run away from pressure. Now, if you paid attention to the news on Thursday, we got news that Virginia's coach had decided to kind of abruptly retire, and the reasons he cited was that the changing of the college landscape, you have to be all in for it. Otherwise, it's hard to stay committed, and I think he used the words, it's unfair to Virginia to keep coaching. Again, another example of how fortunate we are with Brad, that he gets it, and he tries to remain super aggressive and forward thinking. Again, what did I start off this episode talking about, right? How I think on that ESPN article, again, I can't read it word for word because it's a premium article. Please check it out if you have ESPN Plus. But essentially, they talk about how if this international class has the impact that they think this class can have, well, then a lot of other teams may decide to really budget more into international recruiting and be aggressive about it. Well, fortunately for us, this is something Brad Underwood's been doing for a long time, because he's always been a forward-thinking coach. He talked about, there was a segment, I'm just going to talk about a couple of parts I liked about the show. He talked about how young we are, and this is going back to that first segment. This team is very young, and what I'm pleading with all of you, is that if Illinois gets off to a slow start, I don't want anyone to lose their enthusiasm for this year. The season really genuinely starts in late December. I know some of you are not going to like to hear me say that, but it's young. He says it himself. Boy, these guys are young. He's trying to. It's hard to. We still don't know who our starting center is. Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention this in the first segment. Tomislav Ivičić was also listed on ESPN's newcomer list. He was listed at number 5. I don't have any updates on Tomislav, but in the article, they suggested that if he gets everything cleared away, he's going to be our starting center. As I've told some of you, that I have switched my opinion. I think Morez Johnson is going to be starting opening night now at this point, and we might be getting a lot of Kerry Booth minutes. But if Tomislav is cleared, I think then he starts. And the reason being is because Tomislav has been practicing every single day. And that's something I wanted to kind of note of. If you didn't see him in these highlights, if you didn't see him in the team picture, then maybe Illinois was going to start to be a little bit more careful and conservative and try to get other guys some run time. But he's involved just as much as anyone. So my opinion is if he gets cleared, he's going to be playing a very big role. Probably starting, but I'm not sure. Right now, I think Morez Johnson is going to be starting. Team's going to be young, guys. And because we may not win 24-25 games, or because we have such a tough out of conference, don't lose faith. Watch this team. Watch them grow together. I really like what I've heard about Kylan Boswell. I've been one of the few, and my everydayers in this chat know, who's been talking about Trey White since we got him in these offseason workouts. And now slowly the other content creators around the Illini are bringing his name up as someone who the staff really likes. And I told you that because I heard about that firsthand a couple months ago. The team is super talented. Give it time to gel. Of course, we should beat up on Eastern Illinois in the first couple of games, but we have a very tough schedule. Let it be. That's okay. But anyways, I'm looking forward to watching this docuseries every Wednesday night, and I'm thinking of doing like a live watch party along with it. So if that's something you want to be invited to, if you guys want, I can put up a Zoom or something like that, and let me know in the chat. I can start sharing that. I usually do this with a couple of friends anyway. Speaking of Illinois, Michigan, we have that on Saturday, time for my official prediction. But I wanted to throw this out there. I'm going to be, I live in Texas now, right? I can no longer attend these games, unfortunately, at least this season. Next year, I'm going to be making more of an effort to pick one or two games. I'm going to be hosting a private watch party. Same idea. I'm going to be streaming. If you want to put your camera on, you can. But if you want to watch the game together, let me know. If you're on the audio side, find me on Twitter, any of the social medias. If you're watching this now, let me know in the chat. I'll provide you guys a link, and we can all watch the game together. And then, of course, as always, I go online immediately after, and we do a post-game, hopefully celebratory episode, potentially a therapy session on Saturday night. My prediction, I felt long and hard about this all week long. I'm not going to, I would be silly. In my bold predictions, I said that Illinois would win in the offseason. And now that Illinois has surprised everyone and we're now 5-1 this year, it would be silly of me to change that prediction and think that Michigan's going to win. So I'm sticking with Michigan. I'm sticking with Illinois coming away with a victory here. I think the more I think about it, it's going to be more high scoring than Michigan wants it. And that's bad news for Illinois in the sense that I think Michigan breaks off 2, if not 3 rushing touchdowns, just because they're going to grind away at our defense. But I think we're going to have a similar story to what happened against Nebraska, what happened against Purdue. And that's in a close game, in a very tight game, Illinois pulls it off in the end, whether it's overtime or just a big stop at the end or a big offensive play in the end of the game. I think Brett Bielema has this locker room believing in themselves. So my final prediction for this game is 30-24. High scoring, I know, and I don't think Michigan's been involved in a game that high scoring in a while, but I believe in this team. I really do. And I think 6-1, there's going to be a big party in Champaign. Let me know if you're going to the game. I want to hear all about it. I want to hear, they've sold out the stadium. I can't wait to see some of you guys on Twitter. Definitely tag me in any videos that you might have. I'll retweet whatever I can, but let me know what you guys think of the whole. It's a huge game, right? Like, this is one of the biggest games that we've had, arguably, in 6-7 years? I mean, how important is this game compared to, especially not in the importance of what a single game is, but it being Michigan? It's probably I guess you can say it's probably as important as that game against Michigan 2 years ago, now that I think about it. But this game is at home. And again, the atmosphere is going to be leveled up a great deal. So right after this, I'll catch up with you guys on the other side and see what you guys had to say. Guys, ever feel like you need to get a little boost in the bedroom? It's time you stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing you can get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. All right before the chat started, the show started, I asked if you guys were believing into this KJ hype, and looks like there's a consensus. Fighting Illini 23 says yes, and Czar, frequent commenter on the show, says of course. And I'm glad we all are at this point. I think he's worth it, and I wouldn't be saying that lightly. I liked what Terrence brought us last year, but I just think it's going to be extra special to watch this year because we might have a guy who we're rooting for at the NBA level at this point, moving forward. And I'm proud of that. But some of you may not be NBA watchers, and I totally understand, and I'm not judging you if you're not. But for me, it does matter. Once again, I'm just going to say live watch party tomorrow. If you're interested, let me know. I can provide you a link. If you follow me on Twitter, ask me there. Let me know in the comment section here. I can drop something. It's going to be just a Zoom or something like that while we watch the game together, and I'm going to go immediately live afterwards. Also, I'm going to be home, I just realized, for the Northwestern game. And if any of you are going, let me know. I'd love to link up with all of you, whoever wants to watch the game together. I haven't gotten tickets yet. I still have to seek those out. But regardless, big game tomorrow on Saturday, Illinois and Michigan. I think we pull it off. I think we shock the world. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on Saturday. ILL, love you guys.